The prairie breathed slowly that evening, the kind of breath that came only when the sun leaned low and the land remembered everything it had ever seen. Dry grass whispered under the wind like old voices, telling secrets no one alive deserved to hear. The lone rancher rode without hurry, his horse steady beneath him, dust rising softly behind each step. He had lived long enough on the frontier to know when silence meant peace and when it meant warning. That was when he heard it. Not a scream, not a cry. Something weaker, sharper, as if pain itself had found a voice and was too tired to shout. He pulled the reins, the horse stopped, and the sound came again. Don't. The word drifted across the field, broken, trembling, followed by a breath that sounded like it had scraped its way out of wounded lungs. He dismounted slowly, rifle left behind, hands open, because the West taught men one rule above all others. If you approached fear with violence, you would meet death. Moving through the tall grass, he saw her. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Taller than most men, broad-shouldered yet graceful, an Apache girl whose presence bent the air around her. Her dark hair was braided, dust clinging to her skin, her dress torn by thorns and blood. She knelt on one knee, one hand pressed hard against her side, fingers red, breath shallow. Legends spoke of her. Some called her a giant, others called her a curse, but none of them spoke of this moment, when strength trembled and pride bled quietly into the dirt. He stepped closer, careful, slow. She turned her head, eyes sharp despite the pain, and when he reached out instinctively, she flinched, voice breaking as she whispered, "Don't, it still hurts there." Those words stopped him harder than any bullet ever could. He froze, then pulled his hand back, lowering himself to the ground to make himself smaller, less of a threat. He had seen suffering before, war, hunger, loss, but this was different. This was pain wrapped in dignity, a warrior refusing to fall, even when her body begged her to. He spoke softly, telling her he meant no harm, that he had water, cloth, time. The wind carried his words away, but she listened anyway, slowly, inch by inch. Trust crept between them like a wounded animal, unsure whether to run or stay. He tore a strip from his own shirt and placed it on the ground, not touching her, letting her decide. The sun sank lower, painting the land gold and red, and she finally reached for the cloth herself. That was when he knew this was not a rescue. This was a meeting. He stayed through the night, building a small fire, keeping distance, guarding her rest from wolves and men alike. She spoke little, but when she did, her words carried the weight of mountains. She told him of betrayal, of hunters who saw land as something to own and people as something to break. She told him strength did not mean never falling. It meant standing again, even when every breath burned. By morning, the bleeding had slowed. She stood tall against the rising sun, wounded but unbroken. The rancher offered his horse. She refused with a faint smile. "The land still carries me," she said. They parted without names, without promises, but the prairie remembered them. Long after, travelers would speak of a giant Apache girl who survived when she should not have, and a lone rancher who learned that sometimes the bravest thing a man can do is stop, listen, and not touch where it still hurts. And if this story moved you, if you believe the West was built not only by guns, but by moments of mercy, remember to subscribe to the channel, because every legend lives only as long as someone is willing to hear it, and more stories like this are waiting just beyond the horizon.